This Saturday is UFC Vegas 99, Anthony Hernandez versus Michel Pereira, and this is going to be my full card predictions. We'll discuss every single fight on the card, and I know when you hear Apex, you're like, oh, this card's going to be nasty, this card is ugly, this is a horrible card. It's actually a really solid card, particularly the main event's incredible. 2 top 15 middleweights, exciting stylistic clash, 2 guys who are potentially going to be in the top 15 for a long while. And it's an exciting stylistic clash. You have a good co-main event, and overall, you have a really good main card. You do have a lot of low-level women's MMA on the prelims, but still, I think the main event is a really solid fight that was originally supposed to be on UFC Noche. But let's get into it. We're going to start off with the very first fight of the night, which is Austen Lane versus Robelis Despaigne. Listen, guys, this is a super low-level heavyweight matchup. I know, I've seen on Tapology, everyone's picking Robelis Despaigne. He's 6'7", 87-inch reach. Austen Lane is 6'6", with an 80-inch reach. Robelis Despaigne looked absolutely atrocious against Waldo Cortez Acosta, where he got taken down at literal will and looked like shit after the first round. I'm going to be honest, Austen Lane could beat him. He could beat him. It's 2 super low-level heavyweights. Everyone sees this massive guy who's 6'7" and has this crazy reach and knockout power and taekwondo background. Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to win. Austen Lane can win this fight. He's coming off a loss against, I forgot how to pronounce his name. I think it's Hanata Janice. Dominated him in the grappling in the first round, gassed out. Okay? So it's not like he's a horrible grappler, and Janice is much better grappler than Despaigne, in my opinion. And then before that, got knocked out by Justin Taffa. Hasn't won a fight in 3 fights because there was the eye poke against Justin Taffa. Hasn't won since Dana White Contender Series. Austen Lane could win this fight. I'm not going to pick him to win this fight. Elise Robelis Despaigne. I can't believe I can't believe the words that are about to leave my lips. Elise Robelis Despaigne went 3 rounds with Waldo Cortez Acosta. He's got a win over Josh Parisian in his butt crack. Austen Lane could undoubtedly grapple him, and he's going to try to grapple him, and he'll probably have success. But I trust Despaigne at some point to find a KO shot on Austen Lane. And I think Despaigne probably has better cardio, at least from what he showed in his last fight. So I'm going to say Robelis Despaigne, late first round KO. He gets it done over Austen Lane. Next fight on the card, we have Melissa Martinez versus Alice Ardelean. What a matchup this is. This is where I'm talking about the prelims aren't great, but it's not a bad Apex card. Listen, Alice Ardelean lost to Shauna Bannon via split decision in her last fight. Need I say more? Shauna Bannon is literally a garbage can. To be fair, it was a close fight. To be fair, it could have went either way. To be fair, I think, if I remember correctly, I think I had it for Ardelean, but I thought it was close. Melissa Martinez hasn't fought since 2 years ago against Elise Reed, where she actually got dropped by Elise Reed. Look, Ardelean has some decent grappling. Martinez has some okay grappling. I think Martinez is going to have the striking advantage, and I don't think Ardelean's particularly a great grappler by any means. She took down Shauna Bannon. That doesn't mean anything. Shauna Bannon's a complete garbage can. She's 9-6. Her last win's against a girl who's 0-3. I'm going Melissa Martinez via decision. I'm not picking a girl whose last win was against a girl who's 0-3. There are women you could pick up at a local bar that could probably knock out Alice Ardelean, I'm thinking, and beat her in an MMA fight. So I'm not picking her at 9-6. I'm not picking her coming off a loss against a bum and Shauna Bannon. I'm going Melissa Martinez via decision. Next fight on the card, we have Jessica Penne versus Elise Reed. This is what I'm talking about, the prelims. The prelims aren't great. A lot of low-level women's MMA. Jessica Penne is 41 years old. 41 years old, going on 42. I've seen enough. I'll take Elise Reed. I'll say via decision. A lot of women's MMA fights go to decision. Elise Reed's traded wins and losses. She lost to Lupita Godinez. Not a horrible loss. Got finished there. Beat Jinyu Frey. Lost to Luma Lubume. Beat Melissa Martinez, who we just talked about. Lost to Sam Hughes. She's well-rounded. Jessica Penne is primarily likes to, use her grappling. But she's lost to Tabitha Ritchie 2 years ago. Lost to Emily Ducote a little over 2 years ago. Her last win's 3 years ago. Over 3 years ago is her last win. Yeah, 42 years old, or damn near 42 years old. She does have a height and reach advantage, 4-inch reach advantage. Her striking ain't that good. Elise Reed's decent everywhere. She's younger. She's only 31 years old. So that's 11-year youth advantage. Jessica Penne inactive as well. I'm going Elise Reed to get it done via decision. Next fight on the card. This bout order. Jocelyn Edwards versus Tamires Vidal. Yeah. I'm starting to rethink what I said in the opening of this video. But the main card is good, guys. The main card is good. Don't let this low-level women's MMA fights back-to-back-to-back discourage you. And this is only 11-fight card. Listen, Tamires Vidal has garbage grappling. She lost her last 2 fights. Primarily got out-grappled. I think in the Melissa Gatto fight, she got taken down. She eventually got finished via body shot. Got out-grappled a bit by Montserrat Rendon and got outstruck a bit. Jocelyn Edwards has good grappling. You know, she lost her last fight against Aylin Perez, who's a really solid grappler, and that was a close fight. Lost to Nora Cornola, if I remember correctly. That was a very close fight as well. Beat Lucy Pudilova via split decision. Beat Jin Yong Kim via split decision. She hasn't got a unanimous decision win since Ramona Pascal 2 years, 4 months ago. Tamires Vidal definitely has a striking advantage, but Jocelyn Edwards is kind of big for the weight class. Has good grappling, has good top control. Her cardio's okay. Tamires Vidal has some decent body kicks, some decent striking. I would say decent power for the women's weight class. But, you know, the opponent in common, Ramona Pascal Vidal has a KO over with a flying knee. I don't even remember that one. Listen, I'm not picking Vidal. I'm not picking her. She has no grappling. Jocelyn Edwards' strength is a grappling. I'm going to pick Jocelyn Edwards, super boring, top-heavy, you know, control in the guard, control in half guard, maybe even getting some full mounts on Tamires Vidal. I'm picking Jocelyn Edwards via decision. Next fight on the card. This is actually a good matchup. We have Brad Katona versus Jean Matsumoto. I believe I picked Jean Matsumoto in his last fight, and it wasn't looking that great for him, to be honest. He fought Dan Argueta in his last fight. It was a close fight, but it seemed like he was losing, and then he gets a guillotine. He has good striking. His submission game is pretty solid. He has a lot of submissions under his belt. Brad Katona, 32 years old, just super well-rounded, decent boxing, decent grappling, good cardio. Beat Jesse Butler in his last fight via decision. And I think Jesse Butler stepped in on short notice. Lost to Garrett Armfield before that. Garrett Armfield's a solid fighter, but he's nothing too special. Then before that, beat Cody Gibson. I mean, talk about horrible season of The Ultimate Fighter in general. They both were on the same season of The Ultimate Fighter. Listen, Brad Katona, if he wins this fight, he's going to win via decision. I like Jean Matsumoto to win this fight. I think he's the superior striker. I think Katona's going to have to grapple him, be a heavy, like, wrestling attack where he gets him down. He doesn't even have an amazing ground and pound. So I think Jean Matsumoto in this fight is going to be stuffing takedowns and busting Brad Katona up on the feet. And even if you get Matsumoto down, he's really good at getting up. He's really good at finding submissions off his back. He found that guillotine against Dan Argueta, which isn't like the greatest opponent ever, but neither is Brad Katona. So I think this is going to be a fight where Katona tries his typical wrestling boxing style, throws a few combinations, shoots on a double leg that Tim Welch is mind blown by, and then Jean Matsumoto stuffs the takedown. When he does get taken down, he'll use defense to get back up, and then eventually he'll just start pulling out ahead. I think it'll be a somewhat competitive fight that Jean Matsumoto clearly wins. You know, he's coming off Dana White's Contender Series. He's 25 years old. He's got a massive reach advantage. 3.5? Well, not a massive reach advantage. 3.5-inch reach advantage. They're the same height. Youth advantage. And Brad Katona's been around for a while. I think he's been in and out of the UFC. You know, he's coming off the Ultimate Fighter not that long ago. I just don't think he's that good. I think if he would have been as good, one of these good prospects, we would have known by now. You know, he's been around forever, 14-3. I know Matsumoto's 15-0, but he's just gotten into the UFC. He's winning an LFA before this, has a bunch of finishes. I'm going Jean Matsumoto. I'm going to pick him to get it done via decision just because Brad Katona is particularly hard to finish. Next fight, we have Matheus Nicolau versus Asu Almabayev. Tough fight to pick, to be honest. Tough fight to pick. This is the featured prelim. Matheus Nicolau is actually a decent flyweight, man. He's a decent flyweight who's on a 2-fight losing streak. He got brutally chinned by Alex Perez in the first round of his last fight. Before that, got chinned by Brandon Royval. It was a knee and then I think an elbow. And then before that, a win over match. Now that is not looking too good. Listen, Matheus Nicolau just likes to circle and circle and circle and just kind of throw combinations from the outside. And he's good everywhere, don't get me wrong, but he can be exposed a little bit in the grappling. And we haven't seen him fight a grappler as good as Asu Almabayev. I mean, I think it was in the it wasn't in the Brandon Royval fight. What fight was it? It was in the Tim Elliott fight. He beat Tim Elliott pretty clearly, but Tim Elliott was getting in some really good positions in the grappling. I think he maybe even got one takedown. Asu Almabayev's a really good grappler. He's coming off a win over Jose Johnson, who's not as good as Mateus Nicolau. Coming off a win over CJ Vergara, not as good as Mateus Nicolau. But his grappling is really solid. His striking is really solid. He's got good power. He's got dynamic kicks. And I think Nicolau's just going to try to avoid the fight. He's just going to circle and circle, combination, circle and circle, combination, stick and move. And I think Almabayev, I think his grappling, I think this is one of the best grapplers. It's the best grappler that Nicolau has fought in quite some time. And I think he'll be able to expose Mateus Nicolau's grappling deficiencies. And I think he gets it done. And you know what's crazy? I'm picking a lot of decisions on this card. I'm going to take Asu Almabayev to get it done via decision. And it's not like Nicolau has some crazy finishing power. And I think Asu Almabayev is really just going to pressure him, land some combinations, look for a takedown. Sit, rinse, repeat over and over and over again. He's a solid grappler. His wins, you know, again, Jose Johnson and CJ Vergara aren't great wins by any means, but he didn't really face any adversity in those fights at all. Jose Johnson's actually kind of a, you know, a slick grappler. I don't know what the word I'm trying to look for right now, but he's not easy to just take down and dominate. He's not great, but and Asu Almabayev is like running into no trouble against these guys in the grappling. So I'm going to pick Almabayev to get it done. I'm going to say he gets it done. I'm going to say decision, probably like a 29-28 decision. Nicolau probably ekes out like the first round in a really boring fashion. And also he's coming off that brutal KO loss. The first time he's been KO'd, or not the first time. He's coming off 2 brutal KO losses. So I'm picking Asu Almabayev to get it done via decision. Could even see him getting a KO. He's got some dynamic power as well. Next fight on the card. First fight on the main card. This is where the fight card really starts to get pretty solid. We have Darren Elkins versus Daniel Pineda. Oh, this is a tough fight to pick. Darren Elkins, man, he takes so much damage. His last fight, he beat TJ Brown. Fight before that, lost to Jonathan Pierce, who just recently lost to Pat Sabatini. Beat Tristan Connolly, lost to Cub Swanson. In all these fights, he's taken a lot of damage. Daniel Pineda actually looked decent against Nathaniel Wood in his last fight. Was landing some good kicks. Daniel Pineda wants to grapple, though. Darren Elkins has a good takedown defense. Listen, they're both old as shit. Darren Elkins is 40 years old. Pineda's 39 years old. Listen, I'm not going to put a lot of in-depth thought into this fight. Daniel Pineda looked really solid against Nathaniel Wood. Darren Elkins never looks great. He takes a lot of damage. His opponent wears down, and then somehow Darren Elkins pulls out a win. Daniel Pineda is super durable. Super durable. So, you know, he's going to decision with Nathaniel Wood, taking some good shots. Same with Alex Caceres. He hasn't been KO'd for 4 years, and that was against Cub Swanson, who was much closer to his prime than he is now. And I think Pineda's going to have a grappling advantage in this fight. Pineda has 3-round cardio. He's not going to fade. And he's much better than his record indicates at 28-16. So I'm going to pick Daniel Pineda to get it done. And you know what I'm going to say? It's crazy they've both been KO'd by Cub Swanson. It was 3 years ago for Darren Elkins. I'm going to say Pineda gets a KO here. He gets into a good position on the ground and pound, TKO really. It's not going to be like put him out cold. And I think Darren Elkins is going to take a lot of damage in this fight and get finished in this fight. And all the damage that he's taken throughout his UFC career is finally going to catch up to him. He's not great anywhere. He's just a guy that can pull a Homer Simpson, essentially. You know, so I'm going to go Daniel Pineda to get it done. I'm going to say second round ground and pound TKO. Pineda has decent kicks. He's very durable, has good cardio. In a way, I think he's a nightmare matchup for Darren Elkins. So I'm going to go Daniel Pineda to get it done. Could also see him getting a submission in the second round as well. Beat him up a bit. Darren Elkins is definitely going to be bleeding, has all that scar tissue. And I think Pineda eventually gets it done in the second round. But I'm going to say second round TKO. Next fight on the card, we have Brady Hiestand versus Jake Hadley. Good fight, solid matchup. Look, damn, I'm about to pick another decision, to be honest. Jake Hadley's coming off that win over Cayenne Rockran. Didn't look that impressive in that fight. Brady Hiestand's coming off a win over Garrett Armfield, which I think is a really solid win. He was almost armbarred in the first round, almost got finished in the second round, and then finds the finish in the third round. Now, to his defense, I think he won the first round ultimately. Brady Hiestand has decent striking. His striking isn't great, but mixed in with the grappling, it's really solid. He's got great jiu-jitsu, always hunting a submission. And Jake Hadley, I think, has a striking advantage, but he can be taken down and controlled. You know, Cayenne Rockran got in on some good takedowns. I think he only got one takedown against him, but got in on some takedown attempts. If you give that to Hiestand, he's going to find a takedown, whether it's a double leg, single leg, up against the fence, out in the open, you know, ducking under and getting to your back and then dragging you down from there. Hiestand's a really good grappler. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, beat Garrett Armfield, beat Bagdaral Dana, beat Fernie Garcia, which really means absolutely nothing. Lost to Ricky Tercios, split decision, but that was 3 years ago. I'm not high on Jake Hadley at all. He beat Kylan Loughran in a close fight, but he clearly won. Lost to Charles Johnson, lost to Cody Durden, got out-grappled in that fight as well against Cody Durden, and outstruck. I don't think Brady Hiestand's striking is so bad that Jake Hadley's going to go out there and like starch him on the feet. And he doesn't really have any urgency either. Brady Hiestand has urgency. He's durable. He recovers well if he does get hit. And he chains in the grappling with his combinations. He'll throw combinations, shoot it on a takedown. If he doesn't get it there, he'll fight for, another opportunity to close the distance and look for a takedown. He'll look to get your back and he'll look for a submission. I could actually see Hiestand submitting Jake Hadley. But Jake Hadley has good jiu-jitsu. He has quite a few submissions himself. So I'm going to go, and I don't think Hadley's ever been subbed. Yeah, he's never been subbed, I'm pretty sure, unless it was way earlier in his career. I'm going to go Brady Hiestand to get it done. I'm going to say he gets it done via decision. And it's going to be him mixing in the takedowns, control time, damage from the top, looking to lock in submissions. I could see Hiestand getting like a second round rear naked choke. But just to be safe, I'm going to pick Brady Hiestand to get it done via decision. I think he's the better fighter. He's 25 years old. Hadley's 28, but this is the dude who came in on Dana White's Contender Series and missed weight. Hasn't beat any tough opposition since then. Beat Malcolm Gordon. Oh, whoop-de-doo. Hiestand hasn't beat any great opposition, but Garrett Armfield's a really solid win, I think. And I think Brady Hiestand has a much brighter future than Jake Hadley. I'm picking him to get it done via decision. Next fight on the card. I believe this is the featured fight on the card. We have Charles Johnson versus Sumudaerji. Man, Charles Johnson. The last few times I've broken down Charles Johnson fights, I said, his grappling isn't bad. His grappling's underrated, And a lot of people have called me crazy because he's got out-grappled in a lot of his losses against Rafael Estevan, against Cody Durden. Azmat Maxim, I believe, out-grappled him in the first round before he came back and won. A lot of people weren't expecting it. I think Azat was actually undefeated at that point in time. But since then, he beats Azat, beats Jake Hadley, and beats Joshua Van, KOs Joshua Van. Joshua Van's like kind of a prospect at flyweight that a lot of people were expecting to become a contender. Sumudaerji's on a 2-fight losing streak. Got finished by Tim Elliott with ease. Got taken down, arm triangled. Before that, got finished by Matt Snell. His last win is 4 years ago. It's 4 years. That's crazy. In that Matt Snell fight, he took a lot of damage. He didn't take as much damage against Tim Elliott, but Tim Elliott took him down and landed some good ground and pound elbows. Charles Johnson, I think, is coming into his own. He's 33 years old. I think he's in his prime. His striking is good. He's awkward. He's hard to hit. He has good grappling defense. And he has good grappling offense as well. And Sumudaerji's going to want to kickbox. And I think Charles Johnson has that funky style where he makes it complicated on the feet. And I think Sumudaerji is going to have trouble with it. And I also think Sumudaerji's taken so much damage. He's bound to get chinned one of these days. And I just see Charles Johnson mixing it all together. I think he's the far more well-rounded fighter. I think he has the better gas tank. He's going to have that ugly little rat tail mullet thing going on. And I think he's going to go out there, be able to kickbox with Sumudaerji without getting finished. He's very durable. Hasn't been finished. I don't remember the last time Charles Johnson's been finished. And I don't have it in front of me right now. But yeah, he's a very durable fighter. Good movement. He's awkward to kind of land on. He has this weird movement. He has good parries, good defense, good striking defense. And I just don't see where Sumudaerji beats him. So I'm going to say Charles Johnson decision. I know I'm picking a lot of decisions on this card, but I just see a lot of these fights going to decision. I'm not taking Sumudaerji on a 2-fight losing streak. Last win was 4 years ago. Just not doing it. He definitely has a striking advantage, but Charles Johnson's the more overall well-rounded mixed martial artist. I think he mixes it all together and wins via decision. I'll say like a 29-28 decision win. I could see Charles Johnson win like the second and third round. Competitive fight, good solid fight, but Charles Johnson clearly wins. More volume, especially as the fight goes later on. Next fight on the card, co-main event. We have Rob Font versus Kyler Phillips. Look, I like Rob Font, but he's lost 4 out of his last 5. 4 out of his last 5. I think I picked all 5 of his fights correctly in his last 5 fights. I picked him to lose to Figgy. He lost to Figgy. Picked him to lose to Corey Sandhagen. Lost to Corey Sandhagen. Picked him to beat Adrian Yanez. Beat Adrian Yanez. Picked him to lose to Marlon Vera. Picked him to lose to Jose Aldo. Yeah. So I'm 5-0 in Rob Font's last 5 fights. I don't know. I don't have the history before that right in front of me right now. How can you pick him to beat Kyler Phillips? Kyler Phillips is a surging contender in the bantamweight division. Good movement, good volume, well-rounded, good striking, good diversity of attacks, has really good solid kicks. Cardio looked unbelievable in his last fight. Almost made me suspicious against Pedro Munoz. Looked as fresh as he did in the first round, in the third round, which was super suspicious considering his output. Before that, beat Ronnie Barcelos or Hani Barcelos. Before that, beat Marcelo Rojo. His last loss is against Raulian Paiva. And he 10-8'd Raulian Paiva. It should have been a draw. He 10-8'd him in the first round, almost finished him, then gassed out, and that's why he lost the second and third. He's 29 years old. Rob Font is almost 38, going on 38. He's 37 in 3 months. Kyler Phillips is the better striker, better kickboxer. Maybe not better striker because Rob Font's the better boxer for sure. Got a really solid jab. But I think Kyler Phillips can mix in the grappling. I don't think he's going to be able to take Rob Font down and like control him. But I just think Kyler Phillips is going to have a speed advantage. He's going to have a diversity in the striking attack advantage. And Rob Font is kind of like a plotty guy. He just kind of likes to plot forward. He's not super, you know, predicated on a lot of movement, side-to-side, lateral movement. Kyler Phillips is. And I think it's going to be Rob Font a step behind. You know, this is kind of him defending his ranking. What's he ranked right now? What does it say on the screen? He's number 10 against number 12, Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips is negative 440. That's straight up insane. That's insane. But I get it. You know, Rob Font has lost 4 out of his last 5. He's 37 years old. He's taken a decent amount of damage. He went to decision the majority of these fights, all of these fights that he lost. And he finished Yanez, but this was one of those matchups. This is one of those matchups like Yanez. But I think Kyler Phillips has evolved, getting close to his prime. He's improving every single fight. He's 29 years old. He's going to be faster. He has really solid kicks. I think he's going to be chopping that lead leg of Rob Font. I think he'll occasionally mix in a takedown threat. And I think he beats him up. I mean, he's beating up Pedro Munoz. And, you know, I think Rob Font and Pedro Munoz are pretty comparable right now in terms of overall skills. So I'm going to pick Kyler Phillips to get it done. Does he finish Rob Font? No, I'm not. I know I'm picking every fight via decision. But I'm going to say Kyler Phillips wins via decision. I'm going to say 30-27 decision. And I think Rob Font's heading on his way out of the top 10, soon to be heading his way out of the top 15. He's 37 years old. He turned back Yanez, but that's a year and a half ago at this point. I don't think he's turning back Kyler Phillips. Great lateral movement. I think he's going to be piecing Rob Font up. I think he'll be mixing in the takedowns. And it'll just be more volume from Kyler Phillips. Maybe Rob Font will start pumping that jab and landing at will. I don't see it. Kyler Phillips' gas tank has suspiciously improved as well. So I'm picking Kyler Phillips to get it done. I'm going to say 30-27 decision. Next fight on the card, the main event. We have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Michel Pereira. I love this main event. Absolutely love this main event. And this is a very interesting stylistic clash, guys. Anthony Hernandez, he wants to go out there. He wants to grapple you. He wants to look for submission. He has unlimited cardio. This is a 5-round fight. But Michel Pereira has looked unbeatable since moving to middleweight. Unbeatable. His last fight, Ihor Potieria, hurt him badly. Boom, standing guillotine. Fight before that, hurt Mikhail Oleszejczyk. Literally rear naked choke with no body control. Fight before that, drops Andre Petroski bad in the first round and finishes him at ground and pound. His last close fight was at welterweight against Santiago Ponzinibbio, and it wasn't even that close. The Andre Fialho fight, which was 3 years ago, I went back and rewatched that. I wanted to watch some of his older welterweight matchups. Against Fialho, man, he was getting busted up. It was actually a close fight. I think he won 29-28. And listen, I think what this fight comes down to is, does Michel Pereira get the first or second round finish? He is unbelievably dynamic on the feet. The move to I almost said move to welterweight. The move to middleweight has just breathed new life into his career. I mean, the kicks are unbelievably nasty, especially to the body. He has super fast hands. He's super athletic. He's hard to track down. And if he gets the finish in the first or second round, fair enough. But if this fight starts going long, the athletic ability and the power, it never jives with long-term cardio. And we've seen him slow down before. You know, one of his actual real losses against Tristan Connolly, which was like his last real loss, he gassed out in the first round, lost the second and third, got out grappled, you know, got controlled. And I think in a 3-round fight, maybe you take Pereira to win the first and second. Maybe Hernandez has a successful third. But Fluffy Hernandez has unbelievable cardio. He's super gritty. Hasn't been finished in a while. I think it was 2019 against Kevin Holland, which fair enough. He lost to Kevin Holland. Ew. Kevin Holland's a scrub. But that was so long ago. I think Fluffy Hernandez has gotten so much better since then. He beat Roman Khabibov, went out there, rear naked choked him. Weathered the early storm in the first round, took some good shots, smiled at him, got to grappling towards the end of the first round. Second round, got him down. I think it was caught a kick or a slip from Roman Khabibulov, got his back, found the rear naked choke. Before that, Edmund Shabazian, ground and pound TKO, used his grappling. Before that, beat Marc-Andre Barrios, submitted him. Before that, beat Josh Friend. Before that, beat Rodolfo Vieira, submitted Rodolfo Vieira, who has amazing jiu-jitsu. And while Michel Pereira is super well-rounded, I think if he doesn't get the finish early, I think he's in for a rude awakening against Fluffy Hernandez. I really, truly do, because Fluffy Hernandez, what does he do? He marches you down. He marches forward. He wears you out. He absorbs damage. And Michel Pereira is best when he's left in space. When you start to crowd him is when he runs into some trouble. Now, early he'll be good. He'll have good lateral movement. He'll have good counter shots. But as the fight goes on and he's fending off takedowns and Fluffy Hernandez is just relentless and doesn't get tired himself, I think he's going to run into some trouble. And I think as this fight goes on, I think Michel Pereira is going to be winning early. But I think Fluffy Hernandez stays in the fight, absorbs damage, keeps marching him down, shooting takedowns, maybe getting stuffed, defending any like guillotine attempts. I could see Pereira pulling a guillotine in this fight that's going to end up being costly. That's what I could see happening. I could see Hernandez shooting in on a takedown, Pereira jumping a guillotine, ending up on his back. Fluffy Hernandez works out of the guillotine, then starts working to like mount, working to get the back up against the fence, eventually locking in a rear naked choke. I'm going to take Hernandez. I'm going to take Anthony Fluffy Hernandez to get it done. Initial like kind of early prediction for this fight when it first was announced, I was like, you know, I'm going Anthony Hernandez. I think he wears out Michel Pereira. Now, maybe his cardio, maybe you want to say his cardio is rejuvenated at middleweight. We haven't seen it yet. He's getting quick finish after quick finish. His last 3 fights, all in the first round. I don't know how his cardio is going to be. His athleticism is crazy. His power is crazy. But Anthony Hernandez is crazy durable and will not stop marching forward. I believe he's going to crowd Pereira. I think this is going to be one of those matchups where you're like, man, he can't get anything off. Like kind of like how Bilal was really crowding Leon Edwards. And Hernandez has good shots, you know, good striking, good punching, good power is what I meant to say there. Good punching power. And he's not like crazy knockout ability, but he can make you pay for it if he catches you with something. It's not like he has pillow hands. So I think Hernandez is really going to walk him down. I think maybe loses the first 2 rounds, gets battered a bit where it's not looking good for him. But Pereira's going to start to slow down. And Hernandez is going to start to sense it. He's going to start pressing and pressing more and more, cutting off the cage, shooting more takedowns, having more success. I'm going to say 3rd round, gets a takedown. We're going to be like, oh, it's over. Goes into an advantageous position, maybe gets in the mount. Pereira gives up back. I'm going to say Anthony Hernandez, 3rd round rear naked choke. I see it like a 3rd or 4th round rear naked choke for Fluffy Hernandez. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to say 3rd round, though. I'm going to say late 3rd round rear naked choke for Fluffy Hernandez after potentially losing the 1st and 2nd round. I think they'll be competitive. I think Pereira will definitely win the 1st round. I think Hernandez will be a little bit more cautious and safe. And also, it's orthodox versus orthodox here. So he doesn't have that body shot open like he typically would. So that body kick open that Michel Pereira loves. So he's not going to have that open on Anthony Hernandez. I think Anthony Hernandez gets it done with his grappling, with his cardio mainly. I don't trust Pereira's cardio going into a 5-round fight. And even if he doesn't get finished, I think he loses the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and Hernandez wins with his grappling. So I'm picking Anthony Hernandez, late 3rd round, rear naked choke. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Can't wait for this main event. I'll be live this Saturday for the card. Make sure you join me. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.